What if one of the world's most powerful kings launched an invasion and no enemy showed up? Darius the Great led his massive Persian army into Scythia, expecting a swift victory. But instead, he found a land that seemed to swallow his soldiers whole. No cities, no battlegrounds, only whispers and strange, abandoned camps leading him deeper into the unknown. With every mile, the nightmare grew, until Darius realized he was caught in a trap unlike any he'd ever faced. Darius wasn't just any ruler. He was Darius the Great, one of history's most ambitious kings. Persia had already claimed vast swaths of territory, from Egypt to Asia Minor, and Darius was eyeing even more. Scythia, a mysterious land occupied by fierce nomadic tribes, lay beyond the borders of his empire. He saw conquering Scythia not just as a military objective, but as a statement, proof that Persia was unstoppable. But here's what he didn't know. Scythia wasn't a land that would yield easily. The Scythians were masters of their land and had perfected the art of avoiding direct conflict. They rarely built cities. Instead, they roamed across boundless plains, living off their livestock, thriving where most would perish. In their hands, the vast, empty landscape became a weapon. Darius launched his invasion with nearly 70,000 troops, confident in his power. His plan was simple: march across Scythia, capture its people, and force them to surrender. But as his men crossed the river into Scythia, they were met with nothing. No armies, no cities, just miles and miles of harsh, endless plains. The Scythians didn't fight the way Darius expected. They avoided battle, staying just out of reach, letting Darius and his men chase shadows. The few signs of life they did see, small campsites or fleeting glimpses of Scythian riders, only led them deeper and deeper into the wilderness. It felt as if the Scythians were toying with them, almost as if they were leading them into something. With each passing day, the landscape became more unforgiving. Water sources were scarce, and supplies began to run low. As exhaustion and confusion set in, whispers started spreading among the troops. What if the Scythians had some hidden strategy? Or worse, what if they were being led into a trap? The Scythians' tactics soon became chillingly clear. They had no intention of fighting a traditional battle. Instead, they aimed to wear the Persians down through a brutal game of cat and mouse. The Persians would spot distant Scythian riders on the horizon, but when they pursued, the riders vanished, disappearing into the vast plains, leaving no trace. And then strange things began happening. The Persians would come across deserted Scythian camps with food left behind, almost as if inviting them to keep chasing. The desperation was setting in. With each passing day, Darius grew more agitated. His legendary confidence began to crack. His men, once proud warriors of Persia, were now reduced to weary travelers, haunted by whispers of invisible enemies. Then came the scorched earth tactic. The Scythians started burning their own lands, leaving nothing for the Persians to scavenge. Rivers were polluted, wells were filled in, and every possible resource was destroyed before Darius's army could reach it. What was once a triumphant march was quickly becoming a deadly retreat. Weeks had passed, and Darius's forces were weakened, exhausted, and half-starved. But pride and sheer stubbornness kept him going, refusing to admit defeat. The Scythians, however, had only been toying with them, and now they began closing in. One night, as the Persian army camped, they saw hundreds of torches surrounding them on all sides. The Scythians had finally emerged from the shadows, not to fight, but to show their strength, letting Darius know he was fully in their grasp. In that moment, he realized the horrifying truth. He was entirely at their mercy, deep in hostile territory with no escape in sight. But instead of attacking, the Scythians gave Darius a cryptic message. An animal, a bird, a mouse, and a frog, all left in his camp as symbols. The Persian soldiers stared at these offerings, baffled. But the message was clear. If Darius wanted to survive, he would have to flee like the mouse or drown like the frog. Darius was left with no choice. His men were exhausted, food was gone, and his once proud army was on the brink of collapse. The The Scythians had outwitted him at every turn, using the land itself as their weapon. And though he'd come to conquer, he now realized that Scythia was unconquerable, not because of its warriors, but because of its people's sheer will to remain free and elusive. Darius retreated, his dreams of expanding into Scythia shattered, his reputation bruised. This battle became a legendary tale, a warning to all who thought they could conquer the unconquerable. For more mind-bending stories from history, hit subscribe and join us for the next incredible tale.